How long do you think you can hold your breath? Without practice, it's very difficult for more than a minute and almost impossible for more than 2. For my time freediving, I was able to hold my breath for 4.5 minutes this past summer. Freediving is a practice of holding your breath while diving underwater, and it's something I've been doing my entire life. While it can be dangerous if done incorrectly, it's a fun and easy way to get exercise and a very unique skill to have. Freediving can be done anywhere, but it's best done in clear lakes and the ocean. I'm not sure if any of you in here have been to Lake Tahoe here in California or Crater Lake in Oregon, but if you have, I'm sure you know how incredibly clear and clean these 2 lakes are. This is because they're the 2 deepest lakes in the U.S. As stated in a geospatial and temporal analysis of a 20-year record of water clarity in lakes, there is significant association between depth and water clarity, and is much lower in shallow lakes than deep lakes. It may not look it, but this lake, called Lake Chelan in eastern Washington, is the 3rd deepest lake in the U.S., and is where I first learned to freedive. Every year, me and my family travel here in the summer with several other family friends. And where the cold water is the perfect balance to the scorching summer sun. If you ever want to know what being in space or zero gravity is like, sitting weightlessly at the bottom of a lake is the closest you can get to it here on Earth. The cold water of these lakes makes them much colder than normal lakes and prevents plants and animals like algae from blooming. Freediving is the perfect combination between swimming and scuba diving. You get the simple exercise of swimming and the beautiful underwater views of scuba diving. While both scuba diving and freediving are very similar, there are a few key differences though. When you scuba dive, the air you breathe is heavily compressed from both the underwater pressure and the compact storage tank. This means that in order to return to the surface after a scuba diving dive, you have to slowly swim up for about 5 to 10 minutes while continuously breathing. If you don't do this, the compressed air in your blood can expand and tear your blood vessels. This is called getting the bends. When you freedive, it doesn't matter how deep or how fast you dive, you cannot get the bends. This is because the only breath you take is one at the surface, where the air is neither compressed nor higher in nitrogen. Another advantage of freediving compared to scuba diving is how easy it is to do. While scuba diving equipment costs several $1,000s, all you need to freedive is a pair of goggles and maybe a pair of fins. I prefer freediving to scuba diving because of how easy it is to do. If you want to scuba dive, you need to get a scuba dive certification, which can cost several $100s and take multiple days. If you want to freedive, all you need to do is find a body of water, as I often do in a lake near my house. This is especially nice in the summer, when it's much too warm to do other land-based activities, and the water is much cooler. Most of freediving is just swimming, which is one of the most strenuous and healthy activities you can do. According to the article Swimming for Fitness by Bud Getchell, swimming is a great means of developing cardiorespiratory endurance and a great cross-training technique. Coupling freediving and swimming is great for mixing things up, as freediving is much less boring and repetitive as just swimming is. Beyond the benefits of just swimming, freediving is great for getting additional exercise and lowering your heart rate. According to the article, long-term effects of frequent maximal breath holding on elite freedivers, freediving athletes exhibit changes in their cardiac status, most likely due to the frequent exercise and high-intensity training. While freediving is safe and healthy to do when done correctly, there are a few things to know, though, before doing it. When you hold your breath for a while, you start to feel very uncomfortable. While it may seem that this is your body sensing a lack of oxygen, it's actually your body sensing a buildup of CO2. This means that when you hyperventilate and raise the oxygen in your body, but not the CO2, it can increase the chance of a shallow water blackout, something that is often fatal when done alone. As stated in Drowning Deaths from Unsupervised Breath Holding by Jordan Lane, hyperventilation is commonly done in an attempt to increase the amount of time you can remain underwater in breath holding activities. Hyperventilation decreases the CO2 in your body, but doesn't actually increase the oxygen. This could inadvertently cause a blackout by making you think you have more oxygen than you actually do. If you breathe normally, the risk almost totally goes away though, as the skill to hold your breath until passing out is almost impossible to do. When you understand how to freedive safely, there are many benefits though. While you may not need to dive very deep very often, this skill has actually been very useful to me. One time, me and my friends were diving and swimming around at the end of the dock, back where I live. My friend dropped his pants in the water. It would have been a big deal if it was just his pants, but in his pocket was the key to his dad's car. The water was around 20 feet deep, and we didn't have any goggles, so he thought he was for sure screwed. But I bet my friend $20 I could dive and get it, and several dives later, I was $20 richer. You'd be very surprised at what you could find at the bottom of the lake. 2 years ago, several of my friends were at a thrift shop where they saw a wheelchair for sale. They thought it'd be a good idea to push each other off the end of a dock in the wheelchair. Didn't realize it would just sink right to the bottom. This past summer, 1 year later, I was at the same dock with my friends. One of them asked me to see if it was still there. And several dives later, I was one wheelchair richer. Another time, I was swimming at a lake near my house when I saw a huge underwater log. Upon investigating the log, I saw what I thought to be a lobster. This is a freshwater lake, so I didn't know what it could be. I reached my hand into its hidey hole and grabbed it. Luckily, I was wearing gloves because it pinched my hand really hard. But after getting to the surface, I saw it was actually an 8-inch crawdad the size of my head. Supposedly, they're supposed to taste as good as lobster, but I didn't want to kill it, so I put it back where I found it. While freediving may not have many benefits in your life, if the world ends and you need to catch food, or your friend drops his key in a lake, it can be a very useful skill to have. So the next time you find yourself swimming, see how deep you can dive. Thank you.